What's up EFD? Today we're counting down 10 players who we can see declining this season. But do you disagree with any of our entries? Let us know in the comments. 10. Jamie Vardy. Given he turns 36 this January, it may not be too surprising to see Jamie Vardy kick off this list. But considering he's hit at least 15 Premier League goals in each of the last 5 seasons, the veteran striker cannot simply be written off for his age, proving himself to be one of English football's great late bloomers. However, with Leicester on the rocks so far this season and with zero attacking reinforcements through the door, it already looks like the former Fleetwood man will struggle to match the scoring form of seasons past. His shots have dropped from 2.6 to 1.4 per 90, while his expected goals per 90 have fallen from 0.47 to 0.26, and though he still possesses the pace that makes him a threat in behind the defence, his fitness record has fallen off too, missing 21 games with injury last term. He clearly remains an important player for Brendan Rodgers, who until very recently continued to start him over Kelechi Iheanacho and Patson Daka. But if the manager wants to steer the club clear of relegation and save his job, a long-term refresh up front may well be needed. 9. David de Gea. 2018 was a watershed year for David de Gea's career. For the first time since his first season at Man United, the Spanish stopper began making mistakes on a regular basis, while rivals Man City won the Premier League by a record points total with a ball-playing goalkeeper between the sticks, signalling a shift in how possession football was played at the top level in England. 4 years on, and De Gea remains a very decent shot stopper but still lacks far behind his peers when it comes to playing out from the back, something which cost his side dearly in their difficult early weeks of the new campaign. And as United move to a more possession-based style under Erik Ten Hag, it's difficult to envisage De Gea's long-term future at the club. And while goalkeeping heroics have made up for his deficiencies in other areas in the past, they are no longer a guarantee. He was superb last term, saving almost 7 post-shot expected goals, but the campaign before was far more average on 0.1, the kind of performance he has so far matched in 22-23. With the likes of marskman and David Raya offering both great goalkeeping and distribution, we wouldn't be surprised to see Man United seek a replacement next summer or give a returning Dean Henderson the permanent number 1 spot. 8. Jordi Alba. 2022-23 may well come to be remembered as the season that, after 10 years as top dog, Jordi Alba finally lost his place as Barcelona's starting left-back. And in some ways, it's a surprise. The Spain international registered a career best 10 assists in La Liga last term, hitting at least 8 in 3 of the last 5 seasons. But with 18-year-old Alex Balde seemingly ahead of him in the pecking order and Marcos Alonso also through the door, it appears manager Xavi has demoted his former teammate to a supporting role. This seems a bit harsh given only Memphis Depay and Ousmane Dembele created more chances per 90 than him last term, and the fact Alonso is hardly a long-term replacement at 31, or even arguably on his level. But it certainly suggests that the Barca boss no longer sees Alba in the side's future, and while his legs have held up well in recent years, he will be 34 by the end of the season. For Barca to get back to the top, they need top fullbacks, and Alba's best days may now be behind him. 7. Jordan Henderson. Liverpool have struggled in midfield so far this season, with their failure to land Aurelien Tchouameni and quickly identify an alternative looking ever more significant in hindsight. In previous years this wouldn't have been too big an issue, but with Thiago, Naby Keita and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain all injured and James Milner now 36, there is minimal quality cover in the centre of the park at Anfield. And despite being an essential part of the Reds' rise to domestic and European supremacy under Jurgen Klopp, captain Jordan Henderson seems to have lost some of his power too. He was already becoming less influential on the pitch last term, with his defensive contribution dropping off dramatically, and that has continued this season, with the Englishman making just 2.5 tackles and interceptions per 90, down from 3.7 in the 2019-20 title-winning campaign. As a result, the Reds' midfield has looked far more porous than in previous years, which has in turn made the defence weaker, particularly down the right flank where Trent Alexander-Arnold's roaming requires extra cover. But even if there weren't these problems, it's likely that Henderson would still no longer be an automatic starter for Klopp. He remains a fantastic leader and the essential voice in the dressing room, but sadly his on-field performances no longer match up. 6. Ivan Rakitic. Another midfielder who was at his best in the mid to late 2010s, Ivan Rakitic actually enjoyed his most productive campaign in years last term, registering 4 goals and 6 assists in 35 La Liga appearances, ranking 6th in the Sevilla squad for minutes played and scoring against both Madrid giants. But like former Blaugrana teammate Alba, the veteran midfielder is no longer first choice at the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan, failing to start any of their opening 3 games of the season before captaining the side to a 3-0 defeat at home to Barcelona. But while there is life left in the Croatia legend, Rakitic isn't as trusted as he once was by manager Julen Lopetegui, and his transition into a more attacking role last year was indicative of a player who simply doesn't have the legs to get up and down the pitch like he used to. In 1920, his final season at Barcelona, he ranked in the top 15% of midfielders in Europe for progressive carries. Now he ranks in the bottom 45%, and whereas he once completed almost 7 passes into the final third a match, he now makes just over 5. 35 next March, and with 2 years left on his contract, Rakitic will do well to keep going at the top level into his late 30s. 5. Rodrigo de Paul. The youngest player on this list at 28, Rodrigo de Paul's career is in danger of stagnating at Atletico Madrid. The star of the show at Udinese, the Argentina international looked like one of Europe's best all-round midfielders in Serie A, but has been stifled since his big money move to the Spanish capital last year, making just 24 starts and registering just 4 goal involvements in 21-22. That's down from 18 goal contributions the season before, and while you'd expect his attacking output to come down under Diego Simeone, who largely failed in implementing more possession-based tactics last term, his numbers have fallen across the board in the early weeks of the new season. De Paul is now completing just 2 passes into the final third per 90, down from 6.4 last term, and is winning possession just once a match too, down from 3.6 in 21-22. This season may bring with it the realisation that Atleti is not the place for such a player to thrive. Let's hope we're proven wrong. 4. Juan Cuadrado. Juventus are yet to really get going this season, and neither is their right-back Juan Cuadrado, who in recent years has been relied upon as the side's main source of creativity. And with a number of new faces now in Max Allegri's squad, it finally feels like the club is preparing for a future without the Colombia international. And it's just as well. Cuadrado is currently creating just 1.4 chances per 90, down from 2.1 last year and his worst average in over a decade. It still ranks him among the top creators in the squad, while 5 starts is a pretty small sample size, but it is also an indication that his powers may be declining in the final third. Perhaps more concerning though is the fact he's currently winning less than half of his attempted tackles. And following the signing of left wing-back / winger Filip Kostic, who hit double figures for assists in the league in 3 of 4 seasons at a far less dominant Eintracht Frankfurt, and Angel Di Maria, who has played primarily on the right since joining, Allegri now has far more creators at his disposal. If the club are serious about building long-term success, they should be eyeing up new right-backs before their current one becomes a problem. 3. Patrick Bamford. Having just turned 29, Patrick Bamford is in danger of passing his peak ahead of schedule. A late bloomer in many respects, the English striker failed to make an impact at a number of Premier League clubs before finally impressing in the top flight following Leeds' promotion in 2020, with only Bruno Fernandes, Mo Salah and Harry Kane scoring more than his 17 in the 2021 season. But he has since been hit by 3 separate injuries, missing almost the entire 21-22 campaign and making just 9 league starts since the start of that season. Luckily, his underlying numbers still look very decent. He's averaging almost 4 shots a match in the early weeks of the new campaign, and 4 expected goals from 7 starts last season was pretty good too. But such a frustrating 12 months can hit a striker's confidence, and seeing Bamford underperform his XG so significantly is a slight cause for concern. Hopefully he can rediscover the form that made him such a threat 2 years ago, but under a new coach, the 29-year-old must prove himself all over again. 2. Duvan Zapata. Arguably one of the most underrated strikers in Europe across the last few seasons, Duvan Zapata's superb goal-scoring form has been one of the defining elements of manager Gianpiero Gasperini's success at Atalanta, with the Bergamo outfit finishing 3rd in Serie A for the first time in club history after signing him from Sampdoria in 2018. But over the last 3 seasons, he has become increasingly less prolific, going from scoring 18 goals in around 2,000 minutes in 2019-20 to just 10, 3 of which were penalties, in 1,700 minutes last term. This decline wasn't backed up by his expected goals, which stood at 0.59 per 90, around the same as in 1920. However, injuries marred the second half of the campaign, and he scored just once in 12 appearances between the end of November and May. And this form has carried on. Despite Atalanta's positive start to 22-23, Zapata is yet to score and is taking just 1.6 shots a match, down from over 4 last term. It seems that the 31-year-old has not only forgotten how to convert chances, but is also struggling to get on the end of them. 1. N'Golo Kanté. One player for whom injuries have become an increasing problem in recent years is Chelsea midfielder N'Golo Kanté, who missed over 15 games last term and is already set to miss 8 this season. And while he remains an important player for the Blues, racking up over 5 tackles and interceptions a match, the fact they have been searching for a new deep-lying midfielder is symptomatic of the fact that he can no longer be relied upon as he was in the past. 32 next year, Kanté still has good mobility for a player his age, but that doesn't mean he hasn't lost a yard or two. In his 2 appearances this term, he averaged 15.3 pressures per 90, down from 19.5 last season and 22.8 in 2019-20. His technique in the challenge remains superb, but if he is unable to track down opposition players with as much frequency as before, then Chelsea's performances will undoubtedly suffer. And regardless of that, availability is clearly an issue. With the Blues struggling in his absence so far this term, it's imperative they find someone who can fill the void left by the Frenchman in the long term. So those were our 10 players we think are set to decline this season, but did you agree with us or not? Let us know in the comments below and let us know if you have any shouts yourself. If you enjoyed this video, please leave it a like and subscribe to Euro Football Daily if you haven't done so already. Thanks for watching, we'll see you next time.